Stand by for action. Anything can happen in the next half hour.
Hey, good evening to you. Welcome along to one of our Friday night specials. And coming up on tonight's show, we're going to be taking you back to some real classic air shows. And to start things off, here we have the fabulous Catalina.
Yes, it had a very interesting last year, didn't it? In the autumn of last year, she suffered an engine failure whilst operating on Loch Ness in Scotland, and unable to take off. She was actually rescued by the Loch Ness RNLI, and in due course lifted off the water to a safe haven beside the loch, where an engine change had to be carried out in the open. And after several weeks, she was able to return to. That's the wing. So they actually tuck up to form the wingtips, don't they?
Correct.
And then they're down as floats, which is an amazing design feature. And you can see that boat-like keel, can't you?
And also, people may have noticed that that's where the wheels are tucked in as well. And of course, all designed to keep everything high to stop that salt water penetration.
Yeah.
But
I had the pleasure of a flight in her from Duxford a few years ago, and there's just so much space inside. You could throw a party there, and of course with those great big blisters which were used for the crew to observe when they're looking for a downed pilot or something.
well, yes and no. This one's got a checkered career, though, hasn't it? They spent a lot of time not being used way across on the west coast of Canada, and Nanaimo rescued, and it went off on a safari mission in Africa. I don't know if you recall that. And of course, that's where those blister winters really came in commercially useful in terms of observation. You're absolutely right. Observation fantastic. And of course, they would spend hours and hours looking for downed airmen. And long before we had all these marvelous digital search and rescue beacons that talk to satellites, they did the most amazing job. And I mean, they're terrific stories. There's one of, getting a Mustang pilot, why they were there. They had an engine failure. They were then attacked by enemy Luftwaffe fighters, and they were bobbing around in the middle of the ocean. Extraordinary service from these pilots.
I said that I saw her alight on the sea off Sunderland. Unfortunately, it was only after that I learned that there was actually a version that operated at night that was known as the Black Cats, because of course the Black Cats is the nickname of the Sunderland Football Club. Wish I'd known that at the time.
But it's also a nickname in the Royal Navy as well.
Of course, black hatting.
Because
Tell
of
us
the
what black hatting means.
Well, it's basically spoofing. It's getting one over on your chums.
Yeah.
And of course that's why the Navy team, they only fly one of the Wildcats now. They still keep that name, the Black Cats.
Yeah.
Famous stuff. But I think it's there's the endurance of this. You're talking very, very long missions in very unpleasant weather conditions, a long way from the coast. And you've got to have real confidence in your airframe manufacturer to do things like that. And then to land on the ocean, bobbing around, you can imagine how fearsome that is in a boat, let alone rescuing somebody and then having to take off again. Marvellous.
Clicking the Dunlops. So what was she doing up in Loch Ness? Do you know? I don't know the background to that.
I don't. It was a film, I think. I'm pretty sure it was film work, and of course that helps keep so many of these aircraft in the sky. And particularly, they use the Duxford aircraft base an awful lot. So I mean, there's a huge number of vintage warbirds there as well. It's tremendous work. But it couldn't look better on a day like this. This is this terrific sight, blue sky, and this marvellous lumbering beast of an aircraft, which in many ways it's big, but it's elegant at the same time, because that wonderful sweep, the moral side there, literally a boat-shaped aircraft.
So those of you with strong lines have strong cameras may see the nose art miss pickup, which is based on that of the original aircraft. Shot up and sunk by a Luftwaffe Me-262 jet. Topside view of the aircraft there, and you can see the blisters on each side of the fuselage.
Hi, it's Stu Bear from Airshow World, and I'm very proud to announce our sponsor, the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. And for viewers of Airshow World, you can get 15% off from the world's best tea and coffee company. Plus, you'll be helping Airshow World grow. Just use the code Airshow. That's the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. And of course, hey, now you know the best place to get the best tea and coffee in the world. From the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. But now we keep the show rocking and rolling. We're going to go back to 2021, last year.
The Red Arrows!
Need we say more?
Over the top in wall formation, the widest formation we fly in the Red Arrows. Red 1 calling the aircraft into 8 Arrow. Red 5 would be on the left wingtip, but not there today. As they peak over the loop at about 6,000 feet, the smokes come off. Red 1 squadron leader Tom Bold about to bend the formation to the right. Red 1 is a former Typhoon pilot, and he's instructed on the Tucano and the Hawk T2. He was formerly on the Red Arrows until 2017 and rejoined this year as the team leader. The smoke comes on as Reds 8 and 9 move back in the formation into our iconic Diamond. To the right of Red 1 in Diamond is Red 2, Flight Lieutenant Will Cambridge. Will is a former Tornado GR4 and Typhoon pilot in his second year on the team. In from the right-hand side in Diamond, the nose coming up, the smoke is about to come on for the Diamond roll. Red 1 using a very metronomic cadence in his commands, the pilot's reacting to the tone and rhythm of his voice rather than the movement of his aircraft. As the aircraft pull up to the vertical, Red 1 calls them into Fred. The aircraft moving forwards, changing formation as they go over the top of the loop, forming Feathered Arrow. On the left of Red 1 is Red 3, that's squadron leader Nick Critchell. He'd like to say hello to Matthew and Betty and all the family who are here at their first air show this year. Rich previously flew the Typhoon and was an instructor on the Hawk T2 before joining the Red Arrows. And roll, calls Red 1. Everyone putting their inputs in, reacting to the team leader's voice as we roll the very wide Big Vixen shape. Aboard, calls Red 9 very quietly as 8 and 9 start to roll around the rest of the formation. Watch now as Red 1 bends the formation to the left. The red and blue smoke comes on at 8 and 9. This is Tornado. The aircraft pulling to the vertical, the white smoke on. Red one about to roll to the left. The aircraft coming over the top. Get your cameras ready for the hammer break. Break, break, go, calls red one into the hammer. Now keep your eyes on the aircraft, staying low over the horizon. It's Reds 6 and 7, being followed by Reds 8 and 9, tipping in for the first of their opposition passes. Leading the back section is Red 6, Squadron Leader John Bond. John has previously instructed on the Tucano and flown the Typhoon on the front line, and he's in his 4th year on the team. In from the left and right, Reds 6 and 8, 7 and 9, for the spectacular Jippo Pass. Red 6 and 7 passing 100 feet apart, the red and blue smoke coming away from us as they roll and pull up from roller coasters to make way for the rest of the formation. Now in from the right-hand side, Red 8, the white smoke on, turning hard across and to the front. The white smoke comes on, Red 6 and 7 pulling away from each other, starting their way down in the beautifully symmetrical heart. Keep your eyes peeled up to the top left for Red 9, as he descends steeply towards the heart, his white smoke about to come on to form the spear. Spearing the heart, Red 9 is Squadron Leader Steve Morris. Steve has previously flown the Harrier GR9, the Tornado GR4, and has instructed on the Hawk. Smoke on, ready for up barrel. At the bottom in line astern is Red 4. That's Flight Lieutenant James Turner. JT has previously flown the Typhoon and instructed on the Hawk. He's in his 2nd year on the team. The aircraft have now moved into reverse battle. Normally odd numbers on the left, even numbers on the right. They're the wrong way round in this formation, so they're going to switch back to the right side through slalom. The aircraft back on their correct side now, and as a tribute to the NHS and the healthcare workers across the UK that have been fighting the pandemic throughout the last 2 years, Enid about to put the blue smoke on as they come past in battle. Clear go again for 2 and 3 for their second rollout. Complete calls Red 1, the 4 members of Enid off to the right-hand side. Now, fix your gaze. The aircraft crossing feet away from each other, the chip over it. Left and right, Red 6 and 7. About to barrel roll towards each other before crossing and rolling inverted in a new maneuver, the crossbow. Red and blue as they enter the double barrel roll to the left for the snake-like trail in the sky in Python. Red 1 at the front. Red 2, 3, 4 and 9 in formation in line abreast, a formation called Leaders Benefit. Red smoke comes on, Red 1 about to call them into the second roll. second of their barrel rolls. Red 6 and 7 are positioning themselves behind us in Boomerang. Off to our left and right, look straight ahead. It's time for the display finale. Red 1 about to put the coloured smoke on. The nose lights coming towards us, ready for the spectacular Vixen break. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time this year, you've been watching the Red Arrow!
And coming up right now on Airshow World, it's that time of the show to find out what some of the Airshow World followers have been doing. And this particular video was sent over earlier in the year, and hey, look what it is. It's a beautiful sunset with an AWACS coming in at Coningsby. Quite apt for this week.
Tony Prince.
That's me. How you doing? This is your royal ruler, Tony Prince, and hi there! Watching the Airshow World with Stu Bear.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, well, of course, if it's a Friday night, it's gotta be the Stu Bear Airshow World Show. Don't forget what you're watching tonight. This is a recorded show because the Bear is out and about getting those videos for you guys to be able to watch. So keep on watching, keep on supporting Airshow World. Keep the messages coming in to the chat because, hey, you should be able to see the chat room. It's over on your right-hand side. And, hey, I'll put a few messages in. Meanwhile, though, we have one of my favorite aircrafts. Also from 2021, it is the Blackjack. It's the Royal Air Force's Typhoon display.
Revealing, as we've already discussed this year's Fly the Flag delivery scheme. The design was created as a collaboration between the team and a Eurofighter enthusiast, Adam Johnson. Adam also designed the Gina livery for the 75th BOB anniversary, which you may remember. The A-axis. Again, in from the right, he's going to conduct knife edge maneuvering. At 9G, air is being forced into his G-suit, compressing his muscles, trying to keep the blood from draining from his head. Here's the on-crowd, gear down barrel roll. Back down the line. Setting up for the slow speed pass. Moving the Eurofighter ground speed to probably, as it's into wind, below 100 knots. It looks as though the aircraft's just hanging in the air. Nose held high, he's running 24. 445. A half Cuban with 540 aileron rolls. And then a half horizontal back down into the max rate turn. G turn, Sainty is unable to even lift his arms at all. Into the corkscrew. The Eurofighter has a hand-on throttle and 6 system though, which means Sainty can completely safely control the aircraft even though he can't lift his arms. The G applied to his body will now make him weight equivalent to a Formula 1 racing car. Into the knife edge pass, then invert, and then push again. And it can be quite painful. On crowd back onto the B, into the quarter clover, Sainty's hardest manoeuvre. Technically difficult to get the exact 90-degree turn as he rolls into the left. Full back stick, burners on, he's going to exit the display. Back home to his Midlands. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the 2021 Royal Air Force Typhoon display.
That was superb, excellent.
And with a few shots there, you saw that was from the Midlands Air Festival 2021, and then also finishing off with them coming in to land at East Midlands Airport and taking off again on the Monday. And hey, look at the crowd, look at the balloons. It has got to be the Midlands Air Festival on one of their beautiful evenings. Look at this. And it will be back again next year, early June, so make sure you join us down there.
Minutes left of the open field before we need to clear it and get some other aeroplanes to come in and take off, and actually then continue with the other part. he goes. Brendan O'Brien. Ladies and gentlemen, get your phones out and give him a good wave as well. He's going to be looking at you. He'll be seeing your phones waving, and the more you wave your phones, the better the surprise at the end of his show will be. So wave, 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 get your phones out. If you haven't got your phones out now, get them out. He can see you.
Always one of the big highlights of the whole weekend of the Midlands Air Festival. That is the wonderful Night Glow. And in 2021, it was the first time we got to see this brilliant Spitfire.
Restoration by the aircraft's finder, Peter Monk, known as Mr. Spitfire himself, because of the wonderful restoration jobs he does at the Biggin Hill Heritage Hangar. So yes, if you look closely, you will see Soviet red stars on this Spitfire, hence its name. It's also been christened Stalin's Spitfire. It was one that was led. She is also a local lass, having been produced at the Vickers Armstrong factory at Castle Bromwich. That was on the 4th of August 1944 when she left that, and she was shipped via Murmansk to the 2nd Squadron of the 767th Regiment of the 122nd Division, I hope you're taking notes because questions will be asked, of the Russian Air Force, which was a Spitfire squadron. Unfortunately, she crashed during a dogfight in spring 1945 with just 29 hours on the airframe. Even giving us a nice topside view there. And thankfully being successful in purchasing her. The aircraft then returned to the UK by a circuitous route, and she was then acquired by Angie Soper, who very sadly passed away within the last couple of weeks. She was famous for her Yak 11 display. So what came to the UK was a complete, although crashed, aircraft with the fuselage, large sections of the wings, Peter also flies the only Mark 11 Spitfire photo reconnaissance version that's in the UK, and also the P-51 The finished articles often have variable numbers of original parts, but it's good. But Peter is a stickler for originality. And luckily has the passion and the funds to ensure that the aircraft are restored to as original a condition as possible.
As always, loving the Warbirds. And hey, don't you dare go anywhere. We've got more Warbirds coming up for you right now. And some classic footage taken for you a few years ago from Duxford.
Yes, here they go, scrambling off Duxford's runway. The Grumman FM2 Wildcat and the Curtis Hall 25. Now, here come the Corsair and the Tomahawk. The Allies came to develop tactics better suited to countering the Zero. F4U, the Corsair was able to outclass the Zero and other enemy fighters in most aspects of aerial combat. The US Marines employed it. Of 2 US Army aircraft pursuit groups stationed in Hawaii at Wheeler Field and Bell Field. Wildcat was outclassed by its Japanese counterpart in the Pacific Theatre. When those tactics came into being, the Wildcat became much more effective against it, and the Lockheed P-38 Lightning and the Grumman F-6M Hellcat were better still. P-36 Hawk, mid-1930s design, one of outstanding flying qualities, and ordered to quantity in the late 1930s. While the P-40 family was soon under development to replace it, some P-36s based at Pearl Harbor saw the type's sole combat in US service. They shot somehow one of those American fighters was successful countering the Japanese opponent. And with a wing rock, it admits defeat as we get ready to see some final flypasts from the P-40C, the Hawk 75, the Wildcat, and the Corsair.
Entire cities were destroyed, while others were left smoking and paralyzed. Millions of Japanese were forced to flee. In these final days of the war, air power and air power alone was bringing a nation to its knees. In the Korean War of 1950 to 53 as night fighters and close air support platforms with the US Navy and Marine Corps. French naval aviation, the Aeronautique Navale, used them in Indochina, Suez, Algeria and Tunisia, and their last hurrah came in 1944. By the Hawk 75 at the controls of that was Brian Smith, and the beautiful silver P-40C Tomahawk from the Fighter Collection, also an aircraft that's appeared at a couple of recent Flying Legends displays, but not at one of the IWM shows at Duxford.
marked up as hack aircraft for senior officers.
Always love being down at Duxford, and of course expect lots more videos to come very, very soon from Duxford. And meanwhile, we go back to the Midlands Air Festival on this beautiful Friday evening.
Right, so we've got our next balloons off the ground. As you can see, the general drifters are all starting to drift out towards the left-hand side of the field. There goes our big green meanie with all his little icons on board. And the ones that are taking off the far end of the field, at the right-hand side of the field, will obviously be coming down the field, and they'll obviously give you a flyby as they go. And actually, if they get it right, and you'll start to see a whole line of balloons now starting to inflate as well. There's some more over the back end of the field, and we'll start to get a whole field full of balloons for you. Once these ones at the front, beautifully.
Lurking around now in the fields around the estate, and don't forget we have another little air display for you before we start the night fire proper. This is just all pre-show really, because the night fire itself is a show that we put on when it gets darker, and we've got some fantastic night glow action for you, where we get some of these balloons when it gets darker. We set them to music and they burn like massive light bulbs.
If you see the fox coming towards you, he's obviously doing a really good job in keeping really close to the crowd. Obviously, once he gets to you, give him a big cheer, because he's looking to come right over the top of the corner of the field there. Cloud hoppers coming over, and a few more that are coming from that end of the field. They'll be creeping down towards you.
And coming up for you right now on Stu Bear's Air Show World, it's time to go way back in time with classic air shows. And exactly that's what we have for you. We're going to go back to the early 90s.
Don't make me play out. First one out, detachment to the chief. Ladies and gentlemen, Parachute Regiment 314, the Red Devils.
This airplane, a two-seater, gliding this airplane through the sky. Of some 600 miles an hour. Very sleek-looking aircraft. Blue background. Turbojets, each of 7,500 pounds thrust. A camera. Top speed of the camera in its bomber roll up at 45,000 feet. Nearly 6 branch, and the aircraft used for radar and other trials. And if you look closely at the nose, you'll see all sorts of little warts and pimples, which are holding various sensors used in different work. There the raspberry ripple finish, the red, white and blue. And along the right this afternoon, but normally he would be checking on equipment manufactured by his company. Here now, the Canberra, 64-foot wingspan, well, more than half an inch, and all up weight of about 55,000 pounds. About 200 miles an hour. There the Canberra illustrating its manoeuvrability, its tight turn, 360 degrees, right around the clock. Standing by the blue touch paper over there. Aircraft coming in for a simulated attack on a ground target. Sticker bombs down the side of the runway. High in the sky. You can see the wings lifting. Big black aeroplane coming being on the starvation diet. Flying very, very we'll wait for the TR1 single flyby and passes from left to right.
Didn't want to be disturbed. He wants to be alone. Yeah. He does it anyway.
There is a state cannon, age 8, at the children's marking down. Turn to the meter over there.
Hi, it's Stu Bear from Airshow World, and I'm very proud to announce our sponsor, the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. And for viewers of Airshow World, you can get 15% off from the world's best tea and coffee company. Plus, you'll be helping Airshow World grow. Just use the code Airshow. That's the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. Well, with that, of course, that means that's just about it for another Friday night. Thank you so much for joining my good self, Stu Bear, and thank you to everybody that's been in the chat this evening. Don't forget, tonight's show was a recorded show, and we'll be back with more live shows very, very, very soon. But as you can imagine, busy times throughout this time of year, out and about filming all these great air shows. So hey, join us again very, very soon. For myself, Stu Bear, wishing you all a fantastic weekend. We'll see you next time. Good night.